This episode is brought to you by Hover. You can go to hover.com and use the promo code RODKIN, RODKIN, for 10% off your domain name registrations.
Oh, I'm Jack Radkin. Call me Podcast Junior.
Games, video games.
I think he just used to be...
I just used to be more engaged on the
more engaged, alive. More full of vigor.
Moxie.
Vigor. Oh, that's like
Jake
plasmid.
Rodkin story.
Oh, like a plasmid.
Like a plasmid. Full of plasmid.
I need to be enthusiastic on this
excuse me,
podcast like a hand that shoots bees.
I mean, vigor. I fucking love that you shoot fucking bees.
No
I
shit.
know, it's hilarious.
Shooting
It's the
bees
best.
is the best. All that I think about is that Homer Simpson quote about dogs that bark and shoot bees from their mouth, though, or whatever that is. I don't know.
Right. I remember that vaguely.
It makes me wish that in BioShock Infinite, just like a Gatling gun of snowballs came out of your hand. So like somebody's like, "Hey, you!" Like it's just like choking on them. They're not being like murdered, but they're just being like suffocated. Like,
Right. It's like a crowd control.
Yeah.
Because you can just spew it out over a wide
The
area.
beanbag cannon of plasmids.
Yeah. Man, God, I fucking wish one of those cops in Infinite would just say, "I'm just doing my job."
What?
I don't know. Just like you're a violent, crazy, you're a terrorist. I mean, they just like, we're just clocking in.
I'm a person too with my own problems.
Just because I don't have a fucking recorded diary lying around
doesn't make me any less of a person. I recorded some of those, just no one ever finds them.
No one ever. They're my house. They're my house.
It's where a normal person puts theirs.
Nobody want a park
public
bench.
toilets. Please.
Inside a hot dog stand? What is that? That's performance art. Fuck that. I'm journaling.
Did you ever play No One Lives Forever? Those games? They're really good.
Oh,
And
the
they have-
Kate Archer games?
Yeah.
The ones that Steve loves so much?
Yeah, they're super good. And
I've never played
they have stuff like that in them, basically, where if you just hang around and like don't like bust into the room with the henchmen in it, they'll just have these like 5-minute conversations with each other about like clocking into work and like working for these weird evil geniuses and shit. And, like it's super good. It's really,
how
really
could you
good.
play that game now if you wanted to play it now?
I think at least one of them is available on GOG.
Okay.
Like they're out there, I think.
There's so many times when I'm like, I open those cabinets behind my computer and I see my PS2 sitting there and then like the 15 PS2 games I still have left. I'm like, I should just fucking plug that in.
Yeah.
And then I don't.
Right.
And I never will.
It's a pain in the ass.
But I think about it and I get really excited about it.
Right.
And then I just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like I go to get rid of it and like I'm not going to do that either.
Right.
I have a box sitting by my door at home that I keep meaning to bring in and then can't quite bring myself to bring into the office that is like my 5 favorite Super Nintendo games, my Genesis and the 3 games that I like for it, my N64.
That box will never move.
I might bring it in.
I bet you a kidney, my kidney, that box
but
is
then all he
never
has to
in
do
here.
is bring it in, then he's got a kidney. That's your like influencing. This is like prime
I see what you're
directive
saying.
shit. Like you're influencing the.
Yeah.
I know that there's a mountain bike sitting at my house still from when Jake used to live with me.
Yeah.
That is, it's going to, by the time he gets it, when he's taking it down the street to his house, people are going to be like, what's that thing? Like, anyway. Is it?
I think it is.
I think it is.
Would you say it's?
I don't actually know what it is, but I'm going to assume that it's January 24th, 2014.
Video games.
Which is tomorrow.
This is Idle Thumbs 142.
Which is late.
Which is late. I'm Chris Remo.
Oh, I'm Jack Radkin.
And I'm Sean Vanneman.
And I guess that was all a podcast. What?
You revealing that, like, you like... It's like you got supplanted suddenly into a person's brain and then caught yourself in the mirror. Like, I'm Jake Rodkin today.
I am. Oh. I'm just used to Nick being in the lineup somewhere. And it
Wait,
throws me every
You're
time.
used to that?
You're used to that?
That's
I'm
like,
not
it was
used to that.
ingrained for 50 episodes.
That's true.
Full Grandpa Rodkin right there.
Yeah.
You don't understand. He was on the cast for 50 episodes. You don't know.
You don't know what it was like.
You wouldn't know what it was like.
I wouldn't.
You've only been on like 10 with him.
Oh, weird.
10 glorious episodes.
Probably more than 10.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe.
20.
I took over for Nick.
But that's not.
Well, Steve did. I took over for Steve.
Did.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You coexisted with
I
Steve for a
crossfaded with
while.
Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm talking about the number of episodes that have had us and Brecken. Got to up that count.
So welcome to Idle Thumbs 142, where we talk about previous Idle Thumbs episodes the entire time.
And hosts.
And hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's your favorite?
Me.
Okay.
Jake Rodkin. He's the best guy on the Idle Thumbs, I think.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
How is the Steam development days?
It was cool. I liked it a lot. I went up to Seattle for the Steam Dev Days.
I'm so fucking mad.
Yeah.
On, buddy.
Remember that time when we were talking about how you probably weren't going to get a Steam controller, but it would fucking suck if you did?
The
And then I
thing
did, and
that
then I
drives me
also got a Steam box.
crazy is we had fucking tickets.
Yeah.
No, we just didn't go.
Well, you guys, well, you're idiots. So I mean, that's
Yeah. Think about,
I had decided to
Think about the
it's
throne
gonna
of
sound
Steam
like
boxes
I'm
we could be
trying-
sitting on.
No, it would sound like it sounds like I'm trying to just make myself sound responsible, but I remember saying to myself, it's more valuable to be here working on the game for those days. And then I started seeing controllers and Steam boxes
Right.
show up. Well, I didn't start seeing them. You fucking texted them. You son of a bitch. And then I was
Well, it's 'cause
like,
we
no
had that
way. It's
conversation.
totally, the work that I did was bullshit compared to having a Steam box. compared to having a $400 whatever that thing is.
those multiple days of high productivity are nothing compared to having a prototype video game controller next to you.
It's absolutely true.
It is true. I
And
should have
also, you've been here twice in 2 days and haven't brought either of those.
I just keep forgetting.
Either
I
gets.
know. I need to be reminded, I suppose.
Or with Jake's bike.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Before we talk about Steam Dev Days, I want to make a quick announcement that was prompted by something you mentioned to me, Sean, yesterday. I am moving my Spelunky Daily Challenge streams off the Idle Thumbs channel to my own Twitch channel, so as not to...
Because I am leaving Idle Thumbs. That would be an amazing way to announce that, by the way.
I see these are not welcome here, and so neither am I.
Well, Sean,
farewell.
Sean, we had a funny thing yesterday where you were like, because there was a forum post related to this, and you were like, I think what the person might be trying to say is they're really sick of getting all those Spelunky announcements on the Idle Thumbs Twitch channel every day. And I'm like, someone. Huh? You think that's what someone might be implying?
You have no idea what a revelation it was to realize while I was on the bus coming to work that all I had to do was create a Smurf forum account and complain about it. Because I'm no longer allowed to complain about it on the podcast because people are mad at me now.
Well, it's because everyone loves Spelunky. It's the best game.
It is the best game.
It
is.
So anyway, if you watch my Spelunky things, they're now going to be at twitch.tv/Chris Remo, so you can follow that and not have to worry about it polluting.
You can
the
follow
Idle Thumbs
it
channel.
and /Idle Thumbs. And the only reason we're not really streaming right now, we were really enjoying it in the previous office, but we moved the studio to the Campo Santo office. I don't think we've been explicit about that, but
So if you want to mail us
more
stuff,
sense.
by the way, please go to idlethumbs.net and note the new mailing address on it. But
But our internet is bad here right
Our
now.
internet, so we're upgrading it, but if anybody's ever had bad internet and tried to get good internet from another internet company and they're doing site surveys and like tearing up the fucking road, you understand. So when that happens, we'll be streaming more, I think. Because I actually think about streaming all the time, but then I realize that I don't have the upload to do it.
Yeah. Also, here's like a good segue between that discussion.
Between the
and
great game and Steam Dev
and
Days?
Steam Dev Days, yeah. It was
You just call Spelunky the great game now?
Yeah, capital T, capital G.
Yeah,
I know.
well,
I support
yeah.
that 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good.
So on that note, actually, it was really so. Steam Dev Days was the first. I think. Well, I was at Boston Festival of Indie Games, so that wasn't really a dev
We're so
show,
close to
but,
just calling it the game. Like it'll eventually just become the
That's
game.
what it is for me.
Sorry, go on.
But it was it's the first dev conference I've been to, I think, since I started playing Spelunky Daily Challenge every day, and it was crazy how much that game was just in the air at this thing. Like, I talked to so many people at Spelunky, and in many cases, I was not the initiator of it. Like, everyone, like that game.
This is like Barack Obama hearing a lot about laws. He's like, people just keep talking to me about the Constitution. I'm not even bringing it up.
No, that's not
That's
the
my
case.
Obama, by the
like,
way.
I talked to multiple people who were like, yeah, I think my next game's going to be like really Spelunky inspired. And like just because it was an invite-only conference and it was only developers. So it had a different feeling than something like GDC. I love GDC a lot, but this just was different. Like, it was just a different vibe. It was much smaller. and it was like only developers basically. And that game, like clearly that game is in the development zeitgeist right now. Like it was just a fascinating thing to be. It was not the only thing people were talking about, obviously, not even close. But like
that and Black Flag.
It was what?
Nothing.
Black Flag at the Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Heavily inspired by Spelunky.
But
I hope Valve is working on a Spelunky killer.
That would be amazing. If Valve, like,
Valve is making
what?
Spelunky
If Valve
2.
put their fucking
Yeah, they're just making Spelunky too.
God, God damn. Speaking of fucking trademarks, fucking another thing that's going on in the fucking
Yeah, we should get to that
right
because I want to talk about Banner Saga, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, like that was a fascinating thing to perceive because I don't know, it does seem like that game has like made a lot of ripples in just the development community at large. But anyway,
And relationships. Podcasts.
but yeah, Steam Dev Days was really cool. I think especially cool as a proof of concept of a like secondary, smaller annual development conference. It does sound like they want to keep doing it. And the interesting thing about this one, the first one, is that it was basically entirely dedicated to things Valve finds interesting right now, which were primarily, I would say, 4 things. There were Steambox and Steam Controller, user-generated content, microtransactions and free-to-play, and virtual reality. And
You would have been right at home. Just thinking about our game.
I mean, so that's, I know, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it
VR
was,
is cool.
Yeah, so like some of that stuff I find interesting in like a detached.
We would have been right at home?
Just like, I was thinking about I was sarcasm.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
It's worth making that clear.
Our game is not many of those things.
yeah. And right. So, I mean, to that effect, like I was, like it definitely, there were some holes in the schedule where I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I can go watch something out of like general interest, but like it's probably not going to directly impact me all that much. Like there was a cool talk by Mike Moraski about music, and that was obviously super applicable to me, but like a lot of it was definitely like outside of my own personal sphere. But I think part of that is because it was the first one of these they've done,
right?
And they needed to fill a lot of the slots themselves, just because they needed the like to seed this thing. But it sounds like I had some conversations with Valve people, and it does sound like in a general, obviously I'm not going to like go into great detail about those conversations, but like it sounds like in a general sense, they want to keep doing this thing and like take the Valve general approach, which is to as much as you can, like farm stuff out to your community. It sounds like they are interested in casting a wider net of content next year and like having more other developers give talks and stuff, which would be really awesome. Like GDC is like my favorite thing of the year. So
do you think they'll keep it as a closed conference?
It was cool. I kind of liked it. I mean,
I'm asking that in like a hopeful way because like that's cool. I love GDC.
Exactly.
Right? I just don't like all the other shit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I gotta go to fucking like. Ugh.
Right. I mean, yeah. So again, like I really love GDC a lot. It really is like my favorite week of the year professionally. But it as an alternative, like as an addition, it was really nice to have an event that was much smaller, felt more intimate, where everyone there is like working on stuff. I mean, there were a lot of really, really small indies there. It's not like it was
right.
I mean, in fact, I would say it was slanted towards indies because the PC space is much more slanted in that direction. So it was kind of like an ideal crowd, in my opinion. Like this
is my question. Were you tired at the end of it?
No, I wasn't.
See, that's what I want.
I know, exactly.
Because at the end of GDC, I've been asked
exhausted.
so much of myself. We were like, it's always just like somebody's trying to sell you something, or like, I shouldn't shit on GDC. I love GDC.
No,
but you know what I mean?
agree.
I'm
I
so
can't
fucking
stress
tired.
enough how much I love
so
GDC.
tired at the end of it.
Yeah.
And again, I love GDC. I'm speaking this year. Oh, I can talk about that now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Narrative Summit. I don't know what day, but my talk is called something. It's gonna be good. It's called
it's clearly
it's called Pursuing Interactive Suspension of Disbelief.
Okay, cool.
And it's actually kind of probably in the same mind. It's about sort of tonal control. So there you go, Steve. Yeah, cool. It's kind of a riff on some of that stuff and how that stuff is important.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
What was I just going to say? Oh, right. Also, they had a hilarious after party at which the presidents of the United States of America played, which was pretty...
Oh, yeah, because I saw your tweet about Peaches, and I was like, he's not at a President's of the United States of America concert, and if he is, it's definitely not Steam-related.
It was that.
Yes!
And the best part was they introduced... It was really fucking funny. Like,
I fucking listened to that album probably $100 in my life.
I know, me too.
Like everyone did?
Yeah, well, everyone from
Everyone in that exact slice that is the common time of our ages.
Right. They introduced it as a cover song, which was pretty hilarious. They're like, we're going to play a little cover here. We're going to move outside the thing. And then they just fucking played Peaches. I don't know. It was good. Those guys are hilarious and weird. So anyway, good coverage. I hope they do it again next year. I don't want to keep going on about it because it is such a specific thing. But
I'm curious about it because like there was coverage about it existing, but no press was invited,
zero journalists there,
which is cool. So you're really the only window I've been able to have into that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason I was okay talking about it is because they said they were gonna put all the talks online.
Yeah.
So it seems like they don't mind that the stuff gets out there. They just didn't want
people are posting
there in real time.
That's what I'm saying.
Reporting.
It's like that sort of tiring thing, right? Where
I
go to the stuff. I'm going to talk. Yeah.
There were developers posting a little bit about it on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah. I don't think they cared if people did that. It's just a different thing than.
Yeah. It seems like they did all of their press stuff at CES just a couple weeks before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The Steambox stuff was cool. It gave me a bit of a bet. So we were talking about it for the last 2 weeks, Steambox stuff, and we were talking about kind of being surprised that they didn't have just a stream box. Whoa. Stream machine. All right. So they didn't have one of those.
Chris's dream machine.
Wow, your brain just like fell apart.
Box.
Was that you just now realizing that Steam with the word R attached to it is stream?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of the name of the platform? Okay, good.
Wait, really? Is that the point of the name of the platform? What are you talking about?
I imagined so, that Steam was the thing which you use to stream games onto your computer.
No, Steam comes out of a valve.
Yeah, that's what it's from.
Yes, but when Steam was first announced, multiple people.
That was why they were calling this thing Piston for 5 seconds.
That's just that one company that made that one thing.
Right, but that was a co-announcement.
Yeah. Sorry, I just don't want you guys shitting on me for pointing out that if you put an R into Steam, it makes the word stream, because people have been saying that since moment one of download Counter-Strike patches over the internet.
It has a very different implication now. I mean, I believe you, obviously, but like it's.
Anyway, a stream machine.
Someone actually asked about that. Gabe Newell opened the thing by talking for like 15 minutes, then just doing Q&A for the rest of it because he's Gabe Newell, Someone asked about that specifically, and he basically, or maybe it wasn't Gabe who maybe this was in the actual Steambox presentation. I can't remember. In any case, someone at Valve said that they definitely want to do that, but actually there are some like relatively minor but like still existent like hardware challenges in having something as small as they would want it to be that has the hardware that is like that would just eliminate latency. I guess most of those boxes now actually have like fairly perceptible latency, which is totally fine if you're watching video content, but not if you're sending a controller signal back and needing it to respond instantly. So they just need to solve that as an engineering thing. And they said they believe they can. Like they don't think it's going to be a huge problem. It just hasn't been their first priority because they have so many other problems to solve with the controller and stuff. Speaking of which, the controller like is so different now. Like the ones that they gave us were the ones everyone's already seen, which are just leftover prototypes basically. But the actual shipping one is totally different and it's way smarter. One, there's no touchscreen anymore because they realized that it just wasn't solving the problems they thought it would or that they were hoping it would. But instead of that, they've like funneled that saved money into adding 2 sets of like diamond shaped face buttons to the controller. So it's actually like a completely symmetrical controller where each side has both the touchpad, which can serve as either a cursor or a directional thing or face buttons. And then under that, each one, there's a cluster of very traditional like diamond configuration of circular face buttons.
You could use them as face buttons, or the way that a lot of people use D-pads in console games, which is just for issuing up, down, left, right commands with your left thumb.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's no reason you couldn't support that in your game because they're just buttons. But so anyway, that looks much better. I guess the main weakness that their Steambox beta testers had found, this is not surprising at all, but like the main weakness was that the touchpad just isn't great as a face button substitute. Which, I mean, anyone would guess that by looking at it, but it's also in the data also shows it to be true, and so they redesigned that. It looks way better now, I think.
I saw a picture of it and it has that huge open area in the middle.
I know,
that's
weird.
I'm sure that'll be filled with something.
Put a button in there, like just one single button that brings up the Steam overlay or something. I don't know why you wouldn't have that, but
right. That's actually totally true. Given that when you're playing big picture with a 360 controller and you hit the Xbox button, the Steam overlay comes up.
Right, exactly. So I can't imagine they haven't thought about that. But in any case, that's not coming out until it sounds like that's more of like a mid to like a fall release. So they've got plenty of time before all that shit is actually real. But it made me pretty excited about what they're doing. Because, I mean, we had a fairly metered reaction, I think, to all the Steambox Steam controller stuff. And it sounds like they're Valve, right? So they are constantly collecting data. And it seems like they're pretty aware of all that stuff. And the real launch of this is actually farther out than I think we had assumed, which means everything we've seen now is not like be all end all. It's just where it's like a snapshot of where they are, but they're still like in active development on most of this stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty into it. It sounds like they've got their heads on straight about it.
Cool.
And also someone brought up the thing we've talked about before. This was definitely in Gabe's talk about the idea of Steam eventually being available Steam eventually offering like some kind of API driven self-publishing service, which I think would be amazing. I mean, I think that's totally a thing they should offer. And Gabe said they're pretty like that's in their roadmap. He didn't give time frame obviously because it's Valve, but that's definitely like what they see as an important feature for Steam that would replace Greenlight entirely. Like he reiterated that their intention is to just get rid of Greenlight when they have a better.
So then we could open up the Idlethumbs Steam store at idlethumbs.net, which is actually just 15 box arts of Far Cry 2.
Yes, exactly.
Surrounding one bigger Spelunky box. And a Halo configuration.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw. Sorry, I accidentally interjected earlier, but I watched like a 15-minute YouTube of a guy doing this streaming test from the beta to his TV.
Cool. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, and there was like between like 60 milliseconds of latency, which didn't seem crazy to me because I often just play Dota at 60 milliseconds of latency. You can like just check your ping, but there was a frame rate drop. He was playing the BioShock DLC. It was going from 60 on his gaming PC to 45 to 47. And then there was some stuttering hitches.
I wonder if you can
on a
just elect to lock it at 30 and just say I'm happy playing at 30 and if it's stable.
But then I went and read YouTube comments because for something like that, they're actually kind of useful to get a snapshot of other people. There was some like, and one person mentioned that they weren't experiencing any of that. So
it might also just be down to your video hardware. Like,
yeah, it's probably a nice like cocktail of video hardware / how good your Wi-Fi is. Internet, just like your network at home.
Rendering 3D and capturing sometimes seems like even like when doing that in development, there are some people's computers where when you start Fraps in the middle of a game, it just fucking shits its pants, and you walk over to someone else's computer and the frame rate doesn't move. Yeah, and I have no idea why that is because I don't know how computers work.
You do know what a computer is.
I know what one is, yeah.
Okay.
It's like a thing that you like, I don't actually know. I got nothing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steam thing, Valve. That's all I got on that.
Have you played the Banner Saga yet?
I play. Okay, so
wait. Sorry. Are you talking about that? Are you talking about that Match 3 iOS game?
Yeah, I totally am.
Okay.
Oh, the one about Candy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I haven't played that actually. No.
Oh, it's.
I mean, I wanted to play
my
it.
favorite
I wanted to play
game.
it, but the thing is, I got so confused about what game. Like people were telling me about this game, and I'm like, I can't. There seem to be so many games
I'm really having
with
a hard
similar
time
names, and I just
between
can't really
anything
differentiate them
words,
or identify any of them. Yeah, so I just kind of gave up, and whoever made that definitely lost some sales for me because I just couldn't.
I think I played it as a kid. It's a board game. You're like in this world filled with sweets.
Oh, right. I think I played that. Yeah. So that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, Candy Crush Saga from Milton Bradley. It's a popular children's board game.
Yeah.
I actually honestly know nothing about. The only thing I know about Candy Crush Saga is that the people who made it are being huge assholes right now.
Right, they're contesting the trademark.
Yeah, they're claiming that the word saga
and
is
candy.
Are there like trademarks, and they were suing the people who made the Banner Saga because it says saga. Or I don't know if they're suing, but they're at least threatening right now.
I think they're contesting the trademark.
Oh, right, they're contesting the trademark, the Banner Saga, because it includes the word saga. As do like 6 games from the company that made
when there's an objection
Candy
to your
Crush Saga.
trademark, actually, first off, I should say their case specifically, I haven't gone and read a lot about.
Right.
I've just been sort of absorbing it in the ether.
Sure.
But when somebody objects to your trademark, you have to pay a lawyer a lot of money to do all the things you need to do to say, oh, actually, no.
Right.
So that's when you're an indie developer, not really something that you can do, even if your game just came out. I'm sure the game is doing really well.
Especially because it's fresh. Like the Banner Saga is a trademark that hasn't had enough time to like seat and become a definitive.
Well, it's also
mark.
legally, Candy Crush Saga did come out first, so that's their grounds.
Right.
But there's so many other games that came out before the Candy Crush Saga.
Hey, of course. But like the moment somebody can,
I'm not arguing with you. Obviously,
I'm just saying that if somebody like anybody could object.
Right.
Like
Sure. Yeah.
Brian K. Vaughan, who wrote Saga the comic, could object, or Image, or whoever has the trademark to Saga, could object. You still have to fucking deal with it. Is the problem?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's where they are right now, but objecting is easy. You know, it's dealing with it that's the pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So I feel really bad for those guys.
Yeah, that sucks.
That shit happens in games actually all the time.
Yeah.
You just don't hear about it.
God, what was the one that happened a few years ago? That guy, God, what was his name? Tim Langdell?
Oh, the Edge thing?
Yeah, the Edge thing. Remember that? Where he started
All that shit got thrown out, though.
I know, but
But you don't understand. It's like how it turns out is one thing. You pay lawyers so much
this is the
fucking
thing.
money.
He started suing he started like threatening all these people who had games with Edge in the title. And I'm pretty sure the only reason that he eventually was like rebuffed is because he threatened EA, which made Mirror's Edge, and EA was big enough that they could just fucking push back way harder.
Yeah.
But I mean, minus that, like a lot of smaller developers don't have the ability.
You know
to
what's
do
Well, and the thing is, there's a lot of the smaller developers don't have the ability to push back, and a lot of big developers are like, fuck it, let's just pay the guy.
Right.
That's usually what happens. So,
That's what happened with Tim Langdell for sure. And I think the person who actually led the charge in outing him was Derek Yu. I think a ton of that stuff came through TigSource.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think he was like...
Yeah, because there was that indie game. Yeah.
He was the guy... there was a game just called... I can't fucking remember.
Just called Edge.
Yeah,
it was
called
a
Edge.
cube. The one I actually played that game and liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Where you like rotate a cube around.
I think we
I
talked
think-
about that on the cast, yeah.
TigSource was sort of the community that mobilized to be like, what the fuck is this guy? What is going on? What Edge magazine pays him? Like, what is this?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I think Mirror's Edge was finally the like.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was when his website had the thing that was like coming soon. Mirrors, a game from Edge.
Yeah. God, EA. That was like EA's moment too, because they really like just fucking stepped into it and like issued some pretty brash statements about it, and like they got to be the like hero for a few weeks. I remember that.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
That really sucks for Stoic. That's the developer.
People who made the Banner Saga.
Yeah.
So
There's no chance that they're just not racking up legal fees right now.
Yeah, it's got to be horrible.
A good trademark attorney in California is between like $450 and $500 an
California?
hour. No, they're in Texas, I think. I could be pulling that out of my ass. That's like me going way back and watching the Kickstarter video.
Right. Sure.
So in my head.
Yeah. I don't know where they are.
But I mean, I'm just saying, for
Sure.
instance, in California,
Yep.
it's fucking expensive.
Yeah. I haven't played it in its current state. Do you guys remember when they released that weird free to play? So
we talked about that.
Okay, right. Yeah, we did talk about it.
What was
played
that thing called?
It was like Banner Saga Factions, I think.
I kind of want to wait to talk about it because I need someone else who's played it.
Okay.
Because I talked to.
I mean, I want to play it, right? I mean, it looks beautiful.
I talked to my buddy Adrian for like an hour about it last night. Not an hour, like a while on IM, and he's super duper into it. And maybe I just need perhaps you to like help me get over a couple things. Mm-hmm. But the game is beautiful.
Yeah,
Holy
it's clearly gorgeous. Yeah,
it's stunning. Mm-hmm. And just watching your caravan like surge forth across the snowy plains and the days tick by, really cool. But it hasn't landed with me yet, so I guess we'll table it.
Sure. Yeah. That's fine.
I'm so deep into DayZ still, though.
Oh, nice. Yeah, what's the latest?
There was a big update yesterday, so my character got wiped. Which is the crazy thing about playing an alpha game. You kind of forget that. Like, you can never get away with that with a full release game. You can't update and then just have a permadeath game. They've managed. I think they've managed expectations for what an alpha release game is incredibly well.
That's good. That's so important.
You boot up the game and there's just a full screen. Turn back if you don't want to play a game that's going to have bugs and erase your character.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I saw. Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. They even have that on their Steam page. It's like, don't buy this.
Yeah.
If you want a game that's complete and done and polished.
Yeah, if you don't want to be annoyed.
Yeah.
But a reader whose Steam name is Bearstronaut, I've been playing with him and some of his friends. It's funny because a lot of them are like in college or in school, which is
seems like a total college game.
Yeah, and I'm sort of like the old
like Counter-Strike.
man,
Obviously, it's
weird
completely different from Counter-Strike,
yeah.
but I could imagine it occupying a similar kind of role.
Right. Because you can just imagine like a dorm hallway, 2 guys in each room, both doors open,
right? Totally,
being like, yeah, I'm in Parancino. Where are you?
Yeah.
And they're super nice. Like I told you, they kind of kidded me out a little bit, and I ended up for one night I was running around with an M4, and I've decided to only join first-person only servers because there's a lot of like when you pop into third person, you can like get a really big combat advantage, and first-person only just makes you move so deliberately. So for 2.5 hours the other night, I just didn't see another person. I was slowly moving from like tree line to tree line with my machine gun, like my M4, wearing a motorcycle helmet and cargo pants, and looking for people to sort of like. I would go to the outskirts of a town and just watch and just wait till I saw someone.
Yeah.
And then if I saw someone, I would see if they were just like trying to make an assessment about how new to the game they were, and then if they were super new,
you'd kill them.
Just murder them in cold blood. No, but like make sure that they like somebody didn't jump them or something, or they weren't in trouble.
Sure.
And I probably
so you were just being Batman watching from rooftops.
Exactly. And it was like, this is my fucking game. Like I got to manage my food and I got to eat and I got to make sure I have water, and like there's like the life management stuff where I'm like, oh fuck, I have to go into that town and get some food and come back out. That I love. And the rest is just like sitting on cliffs and like crests of hills, keeping a good eye out. So fucking good. I know it does not sound like if you pitch this game, it would not be fun, but oh, it's so good. So I maybe see like one person briefly, and I just kind of like stalked through the woods for a couple hours by myself, and it was amazing. It was so good. And the sun was coming up. It was the morning, and I was going from east to west, so I had the sun on my back, which I think is just strategically smart,
right?
Because when you look towards the sun,
you're exactly
yeah. So I just keep the sun on my back and like keep moving forward.
I love that that's a thing. Like to consider.
Yeah,
super good.
Yeah, so. I look to the south and I see a farming town, and then I see a big like village with like a cathedral to my south. And I'm like, okay, fuck, I want to go there. And I see to the east of it there's a big hill with a big forested hill. I'm like, okay, I can probably spend the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, and I can get to the top of that hill, and I'll creep down through the woods, and I'll just sit on the tree line and scan out the town. So I do that, and I have this really like slow, deliberate pace, and that's just how I'm playing the game. Fucking deliberate, like the way you played Dishonored.
Right? Yeah, totally.
Probably for the same reasons, actually. So I don't have to fucking kill anybody if I don't really want to. Yeah. And
just the stakes are way higher. In this game.
So I get to the tree line, and I mean, I get to the top of the hill, and I look through the trees, and I can kind of see. I'm like, okay, perfect. This is exactly where I thought I wanted to be. That's always really great, by the way. Where you're like, I think if I walk like. Half a mile that way, and then slowly start hooking right, I'll end up on the top of that hill.
God, that is actually incredible.
Which I think looks over the town that I can see way over there.
Right, totally.
But then sometimes, like half the time, I do that, and I'm like, where the fuck is that fucking town?
Sure, yeah. No, I know, but when you do, it's like incredible.
Yeah.
It's a totally different game, but I occasionally got that feeling playing Miasmata.
Right,
and it was, and I'm like, okay, I know I need to find this landmark, and
too.
I think if I hook around here, like I'll have a perfect angle to like triangulate it, and like you do, and you're like, fuck, it's real, I'm real,
right? Yeah.
I'm so smart,
yeah,
you know,
So I do that, and I'm creeping through the trees, and it's like probably like what would be like 6 a.m. our time now, 6:30 a.m. You know, just sort of sun's there, and like friscalating. And
it's what?
Friscalating.
Friscalating.
Yeah.
I don't know that word.
Oh. I learned it from the Real Tenenbaums. Anyway, and I kind of creep down, and I'm laying on my belly, and I'm looking through my scope and just sort of looking into the town. I'm like, oh, that cathedral's really cool. I should go in there. I bet I can't go in there. I'm like, there's sort of like
Are there buildings you can't go in?
Yeah. That stuff is starting to open up though. There's a big update that was yesterday that's really cool. There's a shipwreck, which is awesome. And I was like, oh, there's a market. I'm totally going to go on there, and I know I can. And I'm just sort of like relaxed. I'm like, oh man, this is great. And here, and a fucking soda can opens, like right next to me. And I'm like, holy fuck, there's fucking somebody right here.
Yeah.
There's somebody
drinking a
right
soda.
Here. And then here.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh man.
and I'm like, oh my God. Holy shit. And I'm laying completely still.
Yeah,
and I'm just slowly like looking to my left and slowly looking to my right. I'm like,
man.
holy fuck. And then I hear like crunch. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
holy fuck. So I know they don't see me because nobody who was hunting me would be such a fucking troll to open up, pop a Pepsi behind me.
Yeah.
And
did you have any sense of like where they were relative
to my
to you?
left, for sure. It was in my left ear.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing about the Arma engine is the audio placement, the 3D audio is really fucking good.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, you mean the Uppsala helicopters engine or whatever it is?
Take on helicopters.
Yeah. No, I think it's Upsala Helicopters. That's correct. They were actually sued for trademark infringement by Post, the cereal company.
And by militaries.
Yeah. And by the inventor of the helicopter, Da Vinci.
Michael Helicopters.
And so I'm laying there and I have to remember to breathe when I play this game. Like I have to, I'm like not breathing and my heart's just like.
Yeah.
What do I do? Like not doing something feels like the right thing to do, but not to the point where I let this guy walk up behind me and just fucking kill me.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, what do I do? And I'm like, I have a red fucking backpack on. And I'm assessing all these things. Like, what do I do? I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I gotta get to the point where I'm like, I'm going to take my backpack off, which has all my shit in it. Like, all of my shit.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so I go to do that, and then all of a sudden it's like, boop, server is resetting. I'm like,
Whoa!
no! Because the servers reset like 3 or 4 times a day right now. Or 2.
So this is basically the equivalent of you being in that situation in life, and then there's just a fucking enormous earthquake.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
it's just everything is suddenly
God,
different.
Like, I'm like, oh my God. And so it logs, it boots me, and I log, and I'm like, fuck. And then I look at the server list, and the server's back there. The server's on there again, and people are starting to rejoin it. And I'm like, fuck that. Nope. I'm going to wait 15 minutes because I'm not going to log standing right next to wherever this guy is because it logs you standing.
Okay,
so I was I'm going to fucking take a walk. I just left the game for like 20 minutes and came back and then just went on my way. But like a 2.5 hour game experience where the fucking like mind-blowing, like horrific experience was the pop of a soda tab that I never saw.
I know. That's incredible.
Yeah. Just one like wave file.
Yeah.
Yep. As opposed to every other game on the planet where it's like,
shenanigans and like bombast and like
years of bombast of like years of work that turned
your
into
camera
bombast.
snapped to where the thing is and
Yeah. So if you haven't played DayZ yet, it's for you.
There's this guy at work, Dave Gardner, who's an animator who's hilarious. He's in like the Double Fine documentaries if you watch any of those, and like he plays this game constantly. As far as I can tell, he plays this game a lot. And the reason I know he plays it a lot is because he complains about it every single day. It's like, it's the most boring game I've ever played. Like, you walk into a house and there's nothing there. There's nothing in it. Maybe there's like a battery in the house. It's just, why isn't there like a bunch of stuff and like a story and stuff is put there? You just walk around. It's like
you slide a Gone Home Steam
It's just like being, like walking around in my life. It's incredibly boring. But he has these new stories like every day, and as far as I can tell, he keeps playing it all the time. God, it's really good and weird. And
I was actually just saying that's one of the best things about the game today to Zach from Video Games Hot Dog and Kingdom Clothing. I was saying like the coolest thing about the game is that I go into a fucking warehouse and there's something the size of a AAA battery on the floor in the middle of the warehouse.
Right.
And it's like 2 357 bullets.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking over the moon.
Right. Yeah.
And I sit there just walking around with my nose to the ground looking for stuff.
Yeah.
And then I hear a zombie go like, and I like check okay, he's not in here. Okay, just keep looking. Like that's it's a really like nice feeling. Because then you find that thing. Yeah. And again, like I just love scale like that. Like I'm in a room that's probably 4,000 square feet, and I'm looking for something that's 2 inches big. Like,
that's awesome.
I really like it.
Yeah.
It's good. We should all play together. There's a big server. I mean, there's a big update. Now's the time to play.
There's a big server I know of.
No. There's the big update's now the time to play because everybody's characters got kickback
Right,
to
yeah,
start.
That's true.
So like you're
So there's
not
no
just
cool guys.
We're not gonna walk up on fucking Rambo. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
You only walk up on Rambo Jr. because it's been a couple days.
Yeah. I just got a picture of Rambo Jr. in my head.
It was one of those weird, freakish bodybuilder kids.
Yeah.
Like
Damn it! That's like Baby
eight, but,
Hercules or
more
the guy's
cut than
name.
any of us. Like,
yeah. It's like a 4.5 foot tall,
Yeah.
basically, super cut 8-year-old
Yep.
with the face of like a 60-year-old man.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
No, they always like those kids always just look old.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Greg Oden, he's a basketball player. It looks like he's 80.
Weird. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much there is for me to say about it, but I played through some amount of Broken Age. I don't know how much it was, but it's good. It's cool.
It's hard to talk about adventure games without just...
It is really hard to talk about
Dumping,
adventure
yeah.
games without them. I mean, I imagine everyone knows what Broken Age is, but if you don't, it's the adventure game that came out of the Double Fine Adventure Kickstarter, made by people with whom Chris
Made by
works.
Chris.
Made by Chris.
Good job.
I did not work on that game, but it's really good.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it, I guess, because I haven't...
But tonally, you can talk about the stuff you were surprised by.
Yeah.
That you talked about on Twitter, which I thought was really enlightening.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I think are worth talking about, having actually played through a chunk of the game. Like, I think I've played a little over an hour of it over the first half, which is what's been released.
You played more than an hour.
I might have played 2
Because
hours.
I was... That entire DayZ story I just told, you were playing.
Right, I think I was probably in it for
I
about
kept
2 I was probably in it for about 2 hours.
Yeah. Which character did you start with?
I started with... Well, the game opens with just a shot of the two different characters in the game: a boy on a spaceship named Shay, and a girl
In like a pastoral
in a weird
village.
pastoral village named Vela, and they're both asleep. And then whichever one you click on, the screen just scrolls over to so that their image takes up the entirety of the screen, and you start their story. And then
I love that. I love that.
at any point in the game, the other character's face just exists in your inventory, and when you click it, it just blips back to their story. So it's like if people played Day of the Tentacle or Maniac Mansion, like in the 90s or 80s. It's like that, except that there doesn't seem to be any tangible interconnectedness between their stories. It's more just you're playing through the story and you feel like, I just want to break from this. You press the button and
You're just playing it.
you're playing another story. And that was incredible. Like, I was playing through it with my girlfriend, and she said, this is awesome, but honestly, I try playing games like this on my phone a lot, and I end up just getting fatigued from them. And I said, I think that this game deliberately has a thing to stop you from being fatigued. And then that was like, we'd only been playing Vela's story for like an hour, and we hit the Shay button, and then he, wakes up from his bed, and weird computer mom and dad start talking to him, and then we just played another hour entirely just because we were able to just go boop and just play a completely different thing. But by then,
really
like, she was really clear about how the whole game worked and stuff.
Right.
So like, she was just sitting there grading
faster,
papers, but
yeah.
she was able to like internalize immediately what everything was doing in Shay's story.
It's also like that's like really. I mean, Day of the Tentacle obviously has it, but it feels like in Day.
It's very different.
I know in
feeling
Day of the
this,
Tentacle,
yeah.
it feels like you're moving these 3 pieces on a board to complete.
Yeah,
a
Day of the
goal.
Tentacle, like, it
Exactly,
starts up with
As opposed
all
to like,
of them.
I can't figure this fucking puzzle out. Let me just go over to this story.
Right. They're all
That's
sort of
really
together
great.
in one story, and Day of the Tentacle then split up, so it's more like you're controlling 3 protagonists. Whereas this
Yeah.
is just there's 2 stories that you imagine
Right.
are going to connect,
Because the thing
but you
about
don't know
it,
how or
yeah.
when or why or anything.
It's smart because it caters to the thing that was like I actually liked, but is counter to selling a video game where I would walk away from a LucasArts game like Full Throttle and I couldn't solve a puzzle and be like, fuck, let me just walk away for a minute. And then come back 2 days later and be like, oh, duh. But you can get that mental space but still be playing the game, which is really cool.
It's really surprising, and just like it feels good in practice. The thing that was the most striking about that game, obviously, is its look. Like, the whole game looks very much like the style of this one artist, Nathan Stapley, who does like painting and I think probably some like weird independent comics work, or has, the same as like Scott Campbell and Graham Annable, the guy who does the Grickle stuff. And he clearly, like, just the style of the game has it just looks like hand painted 2D paintings, but the game moves in the style of like a cell animated cartoon. And it's so rare to see a game that looks like that, but then isn't afraid to just put a character's face full screen, acting like fully hand animated, and have it hold up as crisp and like vibrant. It's just weird. It feels like you're playing something of a production quality higher than you ever get out of a video game that has that sort of 2D, like modern indie comic-y look. Like, usually that stuff is reserved for like wacky platformers where the characters stay the same size on the screen, or really limited animations, storybook style, like iPhone presentations. But this is just like everything's alive. The screen's just scrolling all over the fucking place. Everything's animating. It's wild looking. Like nothing looks like it. And the thing that I'm playing right now is the like 2-week early backer beta for Kickstarter backers. And there's weird funky glitches in it and stuff that I hope get fixed, where just like a character's neck draws in front of their face, or like something in the background kind of pops, because obviously it's all being built in 3D out of flats, but it feels like just a few more weeks of playing through and cleaning that stuff up will fix most of that. But like, it's really cool. I guess
I'm really excited to play it.
The one other thing that's not entirely worth saying is that the tone of the game was really surprising to me, and how like basically like sedate it is. Like everything. This is like, I love Tim Schafer adventure games. I played them growing up. They're like why I am in the games industry, like Monkey Island 1 and 2, Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, Day of the Tentacle. And no offense to Chris or to anyone at Double Fine is meant by this, but I've felt like a lot of the stuff that Double Fine has put out has felt like it's like kind of reaching to be funny, because people remember the old LucasArts games as those funny, wacky games. And it's like, it's nice that Broken Age is not aiming to just be a funny game. Like, it's actually aiming to be a game of like scope and adventure and drama that then has funny things that come out of that. And like, obviously those fucking funny, weird characters. Like, there's not,
and that's how I think of Full Throttle and Grim Fandango specifically as well.
Yep.
Right? Like less so Day of the Tentacle, but Monkey Island to me is like an additional weird case that's like none of the above. But Full Throttle and Grim Fandango to me are definitely first and foremost like dramatic stories that are like where the wheels are greased constantly by humor, by levity. Like, you know what I mean? But they're not like comedy games. You know?
It was really good of you to pay that motorcyclist to ride by while you were talking about Full Throttle. That was fucking good.
Yeah, that guy's on retainer because I talk about Full Throttle a lot.
Yeah. He's actually doing a lap right now.
I think Broken Age is more sort of like, it's coherent in a weirder way than like Full Throttle is. Like,
Full Throttle is the most grounded of all of those.
And Grim Fandango is too, but then even Grim Fandango has like the weird demons in it in the Petrified Forest and stuff. And this game seems very much like Tim Schafer was not as concerned with, I'm going to make a genre piece, and it was more just like, all of the weird things that I like and sneak into the corners of all of my games are now going to somehow, like by hook or by crook, become a coherent whole in this, where it's just like, there's just weird shit all over the place, but the longer you stay inside of the world, the more that it actually like tightens up and becomes coherent. It's
I
really
like that
cool.
about Psychonauts too, actually. Like, I thought that Psychonauts was a relatively...
Me too, I agree.
Like the story was kind of like kid who runs away from the circus. Like, was a really like dramatic. Like, kind of felt bad for Raz, but everything I felt like was crazy in a cohesive way.
Yep.
Like,
and that was a game I think where the first, similar to I guess what Jake is saying, maybe it arrived at in a slightly different way, but also a game where I feel like the longer you kind of marinate in it, the more it feels like a complete piece.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's still hung on like,
whereas Full Throttle, like right from the first second, it's like, you know, it's a consistent world.
The thing that's I guess interesting to me about Broken Age in a way that's different from those games is like, for all of Psychonauts' weird stuff, it's still hung on the skeleton of like a Scooby-Doo mystery story where it's like kids at summer camp and someone's stealing their brains. You've got to unmask the guy who's the brain burglar.
Right.
And Full Throttle is like, that's from
the back of the box, right?
Yeah, unmask the brain burglar. And Full Throttle is very much, it's a noir murder mystery, but with bikers, you know? Whereas with Broken Age, I have no fucking clue what's happening, because the structure of the two stories, one, how they interplay with each other is completely unknown to me, and two, just the trajectory of either of them, I don't know. Like, I just don't know where it's going.
And you can't go like, oh, yeah, this is where he's going to have to overcome his fear of blah, 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 so he can do blah, 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 and finally meet blah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that will become more clear the farther in that I go, but
That's fine, though. I mean, discovering that is way better than it being telegraphed up front. That's the thing that's fucking annoying.
It's like, I mean, not that you know the plot of Full Throttle, but you kind of are like, I'm inside this kind of story, whereas with both Shay and Vela's stories, you can sort of, there's things that obviously just exist in culture.
Well, they have immediate goals, but that's not the same as like understanding the arc.
It's both their stories
Exactly.
are the stories of characters who get untethered from the norms of their life and just are kind of just drifting on adventures,
Yeah.
and you don't know where or why, and they're just sort of finding themselves, and it's really cool.
Well, I
That's
feel
the
like-
thing I like about the parallel stories. Like obviously the Day of the Tentacle thing where that stuff is interlocked at every step. Like that's really cool and like a very impressive sort of design achievement. But Jake, to your point about the game being sort of sedate, I like that the connection, at least, I mean, you need to finish the game, but like, you know, I like that the ostensible connection between these two characters is like largely thematic.
Yeah, I mean,
it
you
reminds me
know
of,
that there's
like-
going to be literal connections
Sure.
at some point.
It reminds me of like the beginning of like at the beginning of Serious Man, the Coen Brothers film, where they just put that like crazy short film,
Dybbuk-
basically the Dybbuk
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
like the like Russian weird prologue,
Folktale, yeah.
folktale at the beginning, and it's like not referenced or like explicitly connected to anything else in the film, but it's basically just a tone piece that you can make connections between.
Right.
Like I like that the bulk of Broken Age is spent like just
I like that a lot, too.
forging those ties
I
yourself.
liked it in Serious Man a lot. It feels
I did
like
too.
in
I
games
love that
never
goddamn
do
movie.
this, but the idea of like you guys are all here to experience this thing. You've bought this thing. You're sitting down to play it.
Yep.
Let me just. It's like
Let me stop selling it to you, and let's just like you're
Right.
a captive audience now. Like,
Exactly.
this is- yeah.
Or like having somebody over and like putting on some music and being like, this is the tone for the evening.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
something about that like
Yep.
very performative and
I totally agree.
tone
And
setting that I really like.
That's the reason I like the open. God, it's so weird. I hate talking about
It's like a nice
things
dubstep
that I
opening
like
in a
got to
combat
work
game.
for,
Yeah.
but like I didn't actually work on this game. But that's one of the things I love about the opening, like the just title screen of the game, where it's, or I don't know, not really a title screen, but the like just start screen where you choose which story you want to start with. And it's like each one is animated, and so it's like they're each in a living world right there, and they're right up against each other, and the color palette is totally different, and the setting is totally different, and it's just like presented to you, and there's no like tooltip or explanation. You just have to like make an interaction, and like to me that it sets it. It's almost like a vague thesis statement that it's just putting there about like just the relationship between these stories, and like as the player you just have to just sort of dive into it and just make an arbitrary choice based on nothing.
Can I be?
And I like that a lot.
Can I be a weirdo right now? Because I think I'm going to be a weirdo.
Well, it's normal. So
Have you ever asked permission?
that's-
to
Okay,
live?
sorry. Well, this gets into a slight funky place because you saying that right now, the thing that I flash back to is a thing that many Kickstarter backers saw, which was Tim pitching that scene for the very first time in the documentary, and
yeah.
you being the one who's like, I don't think that's
no,
good.
no, it wasn't. That is absolutely fucking not what I was reacting to. I don't remember what. Okay, so I was actually in that fucking meeting, the entire one, unlike what was shown in the goddamn documentary.
We were all in that meeting. We were backers,
No,
Chris.
Christ,
I wasn't a
that
backer.
scene. Okay, I actually don't remember like what I said went in the documentary.
Well, let's go to the videotape.
But I definitely fucking know what I said. I know the bulk of like the fullness of what I said.
So do we. Good thing
And
it was
I
recorded
said
for posterity
in that
forever.
fucking meeting. I think that opening scene is incredible, and that is like one of the best.
I said that scene was incredible.
I did.
It's really funny the cameras didn't pick that up.
I was so annoyed by that scene in the documentary. That documentary is incredible. Like the 2-player guys.
that documentary is
did
one of
an
the most incredible pieces of showing the entirety
creative
of a
work.
fucking
Yeah,
game.
totally.
Oh, so good.
I totally agree. But I was really annoyed by because obviously it's like when you're reacting to yourself on camera. In general, that's difficult for me. But this specifically because I was like the asshole in that scene. I was not reacting negatively to that opening scene, which I at the time thought was an amazing idea, and the execution of which I think is like even more amazing than what I already assumed.
So you're taking full credit for the opening of Broken Age. Wow.
Yep, sure. Let's just say that. No, I was reacting to something totally different that we weren't allowed to show in the documentary because it came later in the game. So I can't even say it now
Right.
for obvious reasons. So I can't explain what I was reacting negatively to. And the thing that anyway, I can't. There's no way for me to.
Sorry, I knew that I
explain
might be
this.
opening a door by bringing that up.
I'm really glad you did.
It's fine, but
That was a real honest, that was a real
Yeah.
Remo moment right there.
yeah, no, it's fucking fine.
No,
but
that would be very-
I never didn't like that opening idea.
would be
I
very
always thought it
frustrating.
was amazing.
And I guess I have
Your experience.
I do have one more thing to say about Broken Age, I guess.
I was going to say one more thing to say about that scene in the documentary.
No, that documentary is great. God,
Also, by the way, the thing I didn't like, I was only saying like it was like theoretical fucking devil's advocate situation. Anyway, go ahead.
I really hope that documentary is made available to people who did not back the Kickstarter at some point.
It will be eventually, yes.
Because it's really good. But this is a thing that might just be personal to me when playing Broken Age, but it was very weird I used to play a ton of graphic adventure games, and I made a million of them at Telltale. But having worked on the last multiple games that I worked on at Telltale were Puzzle Agent, which was a non-traditional adventure game, Poker Night, which was not, and then Walking Dead, which was also not. So to go back to a game that very deliberately
embraces the conventions.
Yeah, especially the dialogue structure, especially you click on an object, the guy says the same thing every time. You talk to a character, you can ask the same question over and over again in case you forget. And that, and it was weird playing, when I play the Dave Gilbert's games, the Wadget Eye games.
Right. Yeah.
It's of a production style that is so technologically evocative of the 90s, and his voice acting talent is really good. But it's nowhere near the caliber of Broken Age.
You just buy the whole package because it's all...
It just, the affected pieces of old adventure game design don't feel as affected in that.
They all cohere.
Whereas in Broken Age, it was shocking to the point that it was the one thing that was a little bit weird about it felt disjointed given the seamlessness of the rest of the experience. And I predict from what we've talked about, Sean, that it's going to be the thing that irked you about that game.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, but I was curious about it.
I mean, I was able to get into the flow of it more, but at the beginning, it was so weird to click on an object and then be like, oh, that's that knife that I probably need. And you click on it again, oh, that's that knife that I probably need. I'm like, oh, what? I mean, that's not the dialogue, Tim Schafer. Right. It's real dialogue that's amazing, but it was a jolt to see everything else presentationally be just...
Sure. I think I'll like it.
Oh, yeah. It's not a reason to not play that game, but just...
I don't go back and play Full Throttle, which I played last year, and go, oh, I really wish this was a more updated dialogue system or something.
It's a shock to see it in something that your brain just knows this would never have existed at the same time as these mechanics exist, and yet they're woven together into this game.
Right,
that's the thing that's everything else presentationally about the game just is really just an awesome thing that's so different that it was a surprise to see that. But also, this exact structure of game is what I was hoping to get when I paid as a backer for this Kickstarter. So, I'm not... As a financier of Broken Age, I'm not displeased with the results. Anyway, Broken Age.
You want to take a break?
Yes. Let's take a break.
Video games.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Hover, a fantastic domain name registration website at hover.com. And you can use a promo code Rodkin, Jake's last name, coincidentally. RODKIN is
That's
how you
me.
spell that one. You get 10% off your domain name registrations.
Yeah. I like when Hover sponsors us because we use the crap out of them. I forgot this week was a sponsored episode, but this week I actually used Hover twice. One, I'm just going to tell a small story. It's very short.
It's fine.
It's fine. Go for it.
Starting in high school, I realized that they're going to be short. I really liked Sam & Max, the old LucasArts games and the comic books, and I realized that there were no good-looking, comprehensive Sam & Max websites. So I started one at samandmax.net.
I love that you started a short story with essentially the opening page of your memoirs.
Yeah, right.
Whatever. It is the opening page of why I have a job in the games industry, but whatever. Yeah. I've been carrying it at the same registrar that I used in high school up until this week, and I accidentally let it expire. And I quickly picked it up and I was like, fuck, I forget to renew this thing every year. So I was like, oh, obviously I should just transfer it to my Hover account. So I did. And this sounds like a shill, which is amazing, but it was the quickest thing in my entire life. I transferred the domain name that I've had since I was 18 in a matter of minutes, and it was great.
It's a 43-year-old domain name.
And then the other thing that I used Hover for was just to really quickly pick up the domain names for our new game.
What was it?
It was .com and .net and .org.
Whoa.
And again, it was really easy to set up, and they all do what they're supposed to do now. And
thanks, guys.
They're really good. Thanks, Hover.
They're super good. Thank you.
Yep. You gotta bleep that.
Gotta bleep that, please.
Yep.
Video games.
You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it.
You're a good guy, Sean.
Show me all the blueprints.
Show me most of the blueprints.
It's the wave of the future.
The wave of the future.
I thought he said way. I guess he probably said
I go
wave.
back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can all agree to show
You
me
going
all the
back and
buttons.
forth is the thing that would actually drive Howard Hughes to madness.
It's true.
He's like, I said the way.
Look, Howard,
You had
it's
a
the way of the
fucking title
future.
in the first
You heard
half
me,
of
the
the
wave of the
podcast.
future.
Video game.
Yeah, that's my fucking top 40 DJ name.
God. Welcome to Rockin' Dick Rocket on 107.7 The Bone. That's the radio station here. It's stupid. The Bone.
Yeah, the fucking Bone.
Goddamn bone.
I remember when they rebranded it. I was in college and I was in. No, just it's sorry.
Bonnet.
Huh?
That is how could you rebrand The Bone?
They were not called the Bone. They were called something else. But then my friend was just like, I listened to the Bone. He was so bummed that his radio station had been renamed the Bone. He's like,
What was
oh,
it before?
I just an innocuous like 4-letter call sign. But then they're like, the Bone. He's like, oh man. Okay, I guess
I'm not a Bone guy.
I guess I listen to the Bone. Fuck.
Video games.
I've had, like, since I've basically spent half this month in Seattle, it means, like, a majority of the game, like, the challenges I've done this month have been on a shitty laptop keyboard. Just, like, using the fucking WASD and shit, like, or the arrow keys and et cetera. Just, on a boot-camped Mac, basically. And I got back, so I thought, for the past 8 days or whatever, all my dailies have been on that setup. And then last night was my first time in, like, over a week with a controller. And so my last week had been, like, okay. Some days was okay. Some days I would die on, like, 1 and 2. And last night, like, my first day back with a controller, fucking beat hell. Just fucking nailed it to the goddamn wall. It was crazy how much, like, instantly, like, had the controller back in my hand and my skill, like, my, like, actual effective skill level was
You finished it?
I finished it with, like, the crazy additional secret level and crazy second boss. Like, I just fucking nailed it. Like, it was crazy. It was such a, like, and I don't, the funny thing.
The first time you've ever done that on the...
No, I've done it I've done it a couple times on the stream. But the funny thing is, yeah, I don't ordinarily play that well when I've been using the controller for, like, weeks on end. It was, like,
It's like running with weights on your ankles.
yeah, and it was really the same thing. Yeah, like last time I got back from Seattle was the exact same thing. Like, I didn't beat hell that time, but it was still like the like additional ability I had was like palpable. It was like crazy feeling, and it was like in a way. And I'm sure that like by a week from now of just using the controller again, I'll be back to like sort of normal thing. But it really did feel like, as you say, like running with weights on your legs. Like you suddenly like are unshackled, and it's like holy shit! Like all of the like hyper awareness I had to have to compensate for this shitty control method I've been using is like lifted, and now I get to apply all that like awareness and like cognizance to this like easier control interface, or at least one that I'm have better muscle memory with, and like the combination of those was fucking nuts.
So you start playing with the League.
Anyway, sorry.
No, that was a good Spelunky story. One of the good ones.
Video games.
All right, we're back.
What'd you guys do during the break?
I found email to read for you.
That's really nice of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you the next time Hover sponsors an episode of Idle Thumbs.
Stay tuned for that.
You're holding that story hostage for the one person who works at a Hover and listens to this podcast and is like,
They know what I did.
yeah, all they do.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't, actually. And we're back.
So email from Chris Remo, subject line, Chris, you idiot.
What? This is a fucking twist.
It's an email I wrote to myself to remind me to talk about this, and I forgot for the past 2 weeks. Anyway, Nuclear Throne was made by more than two people. I referred to Nuclear Throne as a game made by Vlambeer, and then I described Vlambeer as a studio of two people. And both of those things are true, except that other people who don't work at Vlambeer also worked on this game. So there's...
Short shrift. Remo, they call you.
Yeah, so there's the two Vlambeer guys who are Jan Willem, I don't know how to pronounce their names, but Jan Willem Nijman and Rami Ismail. But there is also art by Paul Veer, music by Yukio Kallio, I don't know how to pronounce these names, sound by Eunice Turner, and art by Justin Chan. Anyway, I want to defend myself a little bit. So I took some shit about this on Twitter from various people as totally deserved shit to have taken, except that when you search for Nuclear Throne, the like meta text that comes up on the official website is Nuclear Throne is the latest game by Vlambeer, the Dutch 2-man indie studio that also brought you Super Crate Box. And when you click on the website, that is their marketing. That's how their marketing text begins. So I feel like it's like takes two to tango here.
I'm sure you're going to get a lot of Twitter apologies.
I am like a stickler for proper developer crediting, so I was totally in the wrong about that. But also, there's like the tiniest smidgen of shared blame.
So was that an apology?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry for messing that up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I make no bones about that. So we have another email from one of our favorite emailers here, Zoe Hart, who writes, "Holy shit, please read." Yeah, I got to settle in. So she writes, "Hi everybody.
Hey.
I wrote about this on my blog, but I thought it was too good not to write in about as well. I just discovered what could be the best thing on the internet, even if only conceptually. It's my new favorite. What if I told you there was a CoDBlOps 2, a Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Wii internet game show? There have been 2 seasons so far over the course of a year. I want to reiterate that point. 2 seasons of a CoDBlOps 2 Wii internet game show. I don't even know what that means.
The Wii is the throw.
I know.
Yeah.
And I've heard through the grapevine.
Judo tossing me through a window right now.
I've heard through the grapevine that the host is inviting people for the 3rd season currently.
Hey, call me.
Each season, he invites CoDBlOps YouTubers to the show. Once a week, they get together for a single, usually inane challenge. For example, one week, they simply had to make a replica of an emblem in-game. Sometimes, though, they might have to play a single 5-minute match. Typically, movies end up shooting at least twice the footage they need and then edit down. Don't worry, he heard about that too, because who has time to watch a whole 5-minute match anyway? Most episodes are less than 5 minutes total and still include a recap, interviews, the rule for that week's challenge, along with the challenge itself and an elimination. You can watch the entirety of both seasons in about 55 minutes at AeroCod Maniac on YouTube. So AeroCod Maniac on YouTube. He has a playlist with all the episodes.
Wait, so the implication here is that he finds people who play like principal platform versions of...
He finds CoDBlOps streamers.
And then says, we're going to do weird things in the Wii version?
I guess? I don't even understand. On the last note, he's also run at least one team Wiimote-only Call of Duty tournament and has been hacked at least 3 times in the last year. Who does this guy think he is? Me? Anyway, I'm totally contacting him for an interview, and I hope you found this as awesome as I did.
Yeah.
People can be crazy, and I love when they are. So I don't even...
I hope you record the audio of that interview and send it to us.
Yeah, I barely even have an understanding of what she's describing. Like, I guess I'll have to watch a couple episodes.
I think Jake seemed like he nailed it with, that's what it seems like to me, but we're probably going to have to watch this.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it sounds good. Like, it sounds like the weird...
Zoe is out there on the beat for the title.
I know. It's great.
I picture this as, like... an obscure, insane physical challenge Japanese game show that then somehow wrangles American reality TV stars to participate in it, and then it's boiled down to like 3 minutes long. And just
watch Stephen Baldwin play
with like the reaction faces that pop up.
Like, I mean, I'm sure that's not what it actually is, but that's what it seems like to me. Just all right. Notable in quotes people who do this one
like
specific thing
celebrities.
Do a way weirder version of that for like 3 minutes, and we'll do 2 seasons of that.
Right.
I don't know if that's what it is, but whatever it is,
it is the video game equivalent of like Herschel Walker on American Gladiators.
Right. Yeah. 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 That seems
really
good.
So we got 3. Well, we may have gotten more, but at least just at a glance, it looks like we got 3. Fairly different perspectives on the LAN party stuff. We were talking about like, I wonder what the college like LAN experience is like these days. So we got like 3 very different emails about it, which is really cool. So I'm just going to go through all of them and then we can respond.
You know, all college students had the exact same experience.
Yeah. Well, one of them's not even a college student. So yeah, it's twist. So Morgan Roz writes, "Hey guys, I'm a computer science and game development student at Sacred Heart University, and I live in a house off campus. I'm the guy who always brings his PC to show people games like Samurai Gun, Speedrunners, Nidhogg, etc. Not many people have heard of these games, but they all seem to grab the gameplay quickly and have a fun time playing them. I can't wait to share Sports Friends with my friends. I think this is great for my environment, but I often find myself wishing there was an online mode for some of the games. I suspect once I move out and get a real job, this interaction will probably diminish and I'll be limited to online play only. It's not very often I manage to gather some friends to play them, but overall they make for a great experience. Keep up the good work, Morgan Ross." So that's like the sort of traditional college perspective. Then there's Charles.
Well, the thing is, though,
Living off campus
living
is
off
different.
campus.
Living off campus, that is, you're right. You're
When
right.
I lived off campus, my life was so fucking different.
You're right. Mine
than-
too.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're in the dorms, it's a totally different
Yeah.
situation. That's a really good point. So anyway, we actually don't have the traditional dorm experience, but we do
Okay.
have two other interesting ones.
Listen,
Charles
I know
Tan-
you're fucking there right now on the coated rubber mattress in this shitty bunk bed
with the T1 line.
listening to this podcast. Just fucking tell us
Yeah.
what it's like now.
So Charles Tan writes, "Hi, Idle Thumbs. In episode 141, you talked about gaming in dorms. I graduated 10 years ago, but here in the Philippines, it's common for several LAN cafes to be opposite the university. So students often go there during their free time to play games.
Right.
It also solves the problem of sucky campus internet. During my college, well, that might be a
Yeah, in
different...
America, the internet's fucking amazing on campuses. Yeah.
During my college days after classes, we'd go to the nearby LAN cafe and play Warcraft 3, hacked for a local BattleNet clone, or Diablo 2. These LAN cafes would usually be open for 20 hours a day and are still relatively cheap. Right now, the rate translates to about 50 cents an hour.
Awesome.
Last year, before discovering Dota 2, we'd still drop by these LAN cafes to find them packed, with students either playing League of Legends or Dota. We'd go there to play Dota, as several of us own desktops, and setting up a LAN in someone else's house was too inconvenient unless we all brought laptops, which we don't all have. It's possible, but not necessarily likely, that a game like Samurai Gun will find a niche market in places like these, as LAN cafes are still very common here in Southeast Asia. Thanks, Charles Tan. So that's
Do
interesting.
you think we'd have attendance if we did a Philippines live show?
If we did it in a LAN cafe,
Well, that's like basically the equivalent of like your band playing at like downtown Disney or something. You're just like, well,
being in a LAN cafe, you mean?
yeah, it's like a stand up doing a show at like a second rate casino. You know, like it's like
Are you? Is it? I don't.
He's
know
talking about the LAN cafe aspect.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just casting aspersions on the Philippines.
no, not the Philippines. I'm saying because the comparison I'm making is to being a place where there are just gonna be people who may not be there at all to see
I get
you.
it. That's what
they're
I'm saying.
just there because
Right.
they're like in a thing where they figure the audience is gonna have some like
Right.
applicability to what you do, but they
Right.
probably just want to do the thing they're
It's
just doing. They don't
it's a-
really want
like
to care
a-
that you're there. You're just you're like wallpaper.
It's four dads playing the Beach Boys at a Marin County farmers market.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand.
So, I mean, I'm not. That's
how I describe Idle
Maybe
Thumbs.
that's what Idle Thumbs deserves, right? So, like, who knows? So, this is an interesting one. Jason Wilkerson writes, "Hey, Thumbs, I would like to tell you a story of how I learned how to play Warcraft 3. Last year, I was a Marine deployed with the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit, MEU. We cruised around the Persian Gulf for 8 months in a small aircraft carrier and occasionally did training missions with friendly countries. Needless to say, we didn't have Wi-Fi anywhere we went. While we were working in the United Arab Emirates, our IT guy got a hold of an old network switch and several Ethernet cables. We passed around an old flash drive with a zip file of Warcraft 3 on it, and we all had a great time playing in a little building in the desert in the middle of nowhere.
That's awesome. Fuck
Even though
yes.
space was a big issue when we got back to the ship, we managed to make a table out of a hard plastic top for a shipping container and played in the helicopter bay after flight ops were done. Attached is a picture of us playing in UAE.
Oh,
this is
fuck
just
yeah.
one of the many times video games helped me get through tough times in the military. I hope you enjoyed. Corporal Jason Wilkerson." And yeah, he has a
Awesome,
picture
man.
of 5 like service people on computers in their little LAN on their makeshift table.
On their little LAN.
Well, it is little.
I know.
This is awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So I'm just silence as I'm just staring at this photo.
Yeah.
One guy's really like just like not fucking happy. He's like clearly
happen with
clearly
video
in a
games.
fucking bad situation. Yeah. The guy on the top of the table is serious business. We should put this on the blog. Think he'd be okay with that?
I would imagine so, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no personal stuff in like
Yeah.
identifiable.
That's cool.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, thanks for writing in. What else do we have here? Reader mail. Josh Calderhead writes. Wait, where did that email go? I just lost it. Here we go. All right. Hello, Two Thumb crew. What? Where to start when thinking about learning to code, or which engine and language to start with? For context, I'm a 28-year-old male living in southwestern, sort of rural Indiana. I make a living for my wife and myself as a CDL Class A truck driver. I drive tractor trailers for a company that mainly delivers vaccines and supplies to the poultry industry, a very little bit for hogs now and again. This job plays pretty well for this area of small-town Indiana. I have tons of time to listen to podcasts and think. I'm a safe driver and good at my job. For a while now, I've been ruminating on what I want from life and have felt like a saltwater fish stuck in a freshwater environment. I don't feel trapped by my spouse or anything. I just feel like I finally realized where I want my life to go about 10 years too late. Most of the people I grew up with are not into video games, nor do most people around here have the money to spend on gaming more than casually. Did any of you guys deal with a situation where you finally realized where you wanted your life to go? Is there a good place to start when thinking about making games? I've been dabbling in writing my own stories since middle school and would love to tell them in the medium I love with the most potential. I've looked into Unity and some of the tutorials for the tools. I've started tooling with very basic Unity scripts / JavaScript. I've looked at the Unity 3D platformer tutorial. I've gone through the PDFs as a starting point. So anyway, he's basically asking, is there a better place to start than tinkering with rudimentary basics when it comes to making a game? Are there good websites?
Yeah.
Am I on the right path? Is it worth saving up and moving closer to a city filled with other developers? Is Unity the best place to start? No, I don't think so. It is.
You actually have a lot for. Just to jump in on that really quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think being in a place where the cost of living is low.
Yeah, that's
wherever
a huge
you are,
benefit.
like Evansville, Indiana, or wherever you are, like whatever's in Southwest Indiana.
Well, let me just wrap this up because
Okay,
it's basically the end of the email. He says he's looked at some website and seen some opinions. He just thought we might have some thoughts on it. Also, I wrote the majority of this email while I was driving over the road for work with Siri's help. Wow.
Okay.
So maybe I'm not as good as a truck driver as I think. Thanks for everything you guys do and keep up the amazing work. Josh Calderhead, pronounced Calderhead. Okay. Well, cool.
Don't
ahead.
move.
Yeah,
I was just saying, that's sort of like a competitive advantage.
I
like
strongly
having
agree
a
with
really
that. Yep.
like low cost of living, like is huge. Is really really great. I every single day wish our studio was in a place where the cost of living was lower.
Yep.
So the money we were paying people to work on the game
Stress
was like
further.
making them have a nice life. Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about this the other day, actually, because I got an email from a student at NYU talking similarly to this. So I'm going to step over the part about like changing career direction in life and stuff because I don't feel qualified to talk about
Sure.
that.
Yeah,
I've
that's
been
very
fucking
personal.
charmed.
Yep.
But don't try to learn a tool set through tutorials. Use tutorials to help you learn to make the thing you want to make. Because I feel like having that emotional goal of like, I really want this thing to come out of a screen when I press a button is the thing that's going to drive you to continue to move forward. Where like, oh, I got to do like go through tutorial 1 through 20 of this book, and then I'll know how to use this tool set, and then I can make the thing I want to make is not really the greatest way to go
I'm of two minds about that.
in my mind. For me,
yeah,
I was going to
totally.
recommend then. Sorry, can I finish?
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
please,
The one
please.
thing I was going
Sorry.
to is if writing it seems like from your email you want to do something narrative. Just make something cool in Twine. It's super easy to learn. It'll take like 20 minutes to learn. And
What?
I'm trying to remember her name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's some really great tutorials online that'll take literally, you'll be 15 minutes and you'll make a thing that works. And it'll be a text game, but you can play it and you can share it and you can send it to friends and you can put it up online. You can do anything you want with it. And it's really fulfilling to have an interactive experience that you can make with zero coding experience. And then, yeah, whatever, you'll go on and you'll like decide you want to do something with images and you'll do something in 2D in Unity or you do something with Game Maker. Fine. But like, it's so achievable to just make a quick Twine game and get a sense of the thing that you're trying to accomplish that like I use it every day. Like I write scenes in Twine for the game that we're making and then I read them and play them and I go, oh, that's bad or oh, that's good. And then I fix it in 2 seconds.
I think Twine is really
Yeah.
good for just dipping your toe into the water of creating content that can be explored non-linearly.
Well, and figuring out if you actually enjoy the process of
Yeah.
creating interactive content in the first place. Right?
Yeah, and you can do crazy things with it. Like you can really, I mean, it's a pretty powerful thing, even though it's going to output a text game. I can't recommend it any more than that. It's really good.
For me, when I first started using Unity, just when I first started just toying with it, when I was still working at Telltale, I was kind of actually paralyzed by the amount of things that it possibly could do.
Right.
And I didn't have like it was so like it was such like a combination of like a black box and the entirety of the galaxy of possibilities that
Right.
I wasn't able to just be like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start figuring out what I want is to make a vehicle roll down of whatever. So
No, what you wanted to do was make a third-person platforming man jump off a cliff into Joe Biden's face.
that was not the first thing that I did.
Oh, really? Because you did that when you were living with me, and it was hilarious.
That was actually when
I never saw this.
it was.
Oh, really?
It was when talking specifically in that case about like how much 2D, 3D hybrid platforming stuff could you do, and like that's when I was. But I had a more specific goal at that point, and then I was like, oh, I wonder how to get textures into the game out of Maya, like how to bring textured meshes in. Test object Joe Biden's face. But when I very, very, very first just installed Unity onto my computer and was just like, I have no idea what I can even possibly do with this thing, I found it incredibly helpful to just go look for, I think you recommended it to me, but it was Chris, but it was a highly rated getting started in Unity Kindle book that I just left running on my screen off to the side and just got familiar enough with like the basic structure of how
interface paradigm,
like, simple JavaScript stuff works, how to link that to objects, how to link that to a controller, just like,
because I should say that stuff is like fun to produce functionality out of the screen.
Right.
I was all, and to Chris, because I think you were going to refute what I was saying, because I actually agree with Jake and probably you.
Well, the thing I was going to say is
exactly. I think I agree with both you guys. And just that the staying power to sort of stick with something is going to be grounded in the ideas that you have.
I think,
so the thing I would say to that is I don't think, like, I think once you're at the point where you are saying, like, the hypothetical thing you said was just like, oh, God, now I have to do, like, chapter 20 of this thing. Then, like, at that point, if you feel like you have a good handle on the thing, then, just make whatever you want. But, like, having some semblance, like, especially if you've literally, I mean, like, this is an extreme case, right, of someone who's, like, really never made games before. Right. And like at that point, I think you really want some basic fundamental grounding and like, well, what is a game editor actually for? Like, because they're all for different things for one thing. Like Unity is a unusually like all-in-one package relative to a lot of like IDEs. And
it's like a united IDE. It's like just for streaming.
Yeah. And so, but there's also some things it doesn't do. And like being able to sort of have someone who knows better than you just walk you through like the basics of like, this is how to interact with this crazy piece of software. And these are some of the basic ways you can affect things. I think is really valuable. And personally, if you do find that you like the just general process and discipline of working with interactive content, I don't think it's like personally. I didn't ever find the Unity tutorial stuff boring. Like I like because you're even though it's that's fair enough. Like, but I mean, even though they're not your own ideas, like just getting something up and working still, at least to me, like feels very potent and satisfying.
Yeah, I have a hard time with tutorials because I start them and it's like we're going to do this thing, and I'm like, well, what if we did something different?
But you can still do that. That's the point.
Changing the stuff in the tutorial,
totally
and about 75% of the way through, I'm like, what was I doing?
I think that's okay.
Oh, it's very valuable experience, but I never get the payoff of completion that I think I'm supposed to get when I do a tutorial.
Well, sure.
So then I'm just like, okay, and I leave it behind.
All right.
And I was only recommending.
But your goals are probably different than this guy's goals are. This guy's goals is like figure out how to make it. You know, like the way you use Unity is different than like how someone who's. I think your situation is slightly different, right? Like it's a slightly different. Like your end goal is like different than this guy's.
Well, also,
goal.
I mean, there's from zero to I know what a development environment is like. It's a big gulf,
exactly.
And I think you're making a good point about that. So, and I was coming to it from like a lot of years of
working inside game engines, and
being the worst person on the team at developing the game too. You know, So, I just found that I could go from downloading the tool to like letting somebody play the thing so quickly with something like Twine that it gave me all this confidence to move forward.
Yeah, I think your Twine suggestion I think is great. I think that's like super good idea.
Also, and then from Twine you go to Inform 7, which is more of a text parser, which is awesome. But
I think that's more if you really actually want to stick with
if you want to stay in interactive fiction.
Yeah, but also, I mean, you're going to learn different paradigms. You're going to learn that, like, this is an object and it's referenced here and, like, has a bunch of properties and has things about it.
I think you can learn that through Unity still.
Of course. But it's just, it's there's no riffraff around it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You can just kind of, you can grow your...
Actually, you know what? Actually, this gives me an idea. I think a really awesome tool if you want to get something up and running really quickly, but you want it to be graphical in nature. Well, this is not necessarily for this guy because he did talk about stories, but I'm just saying generally. Processing. I think it's processing.org.
I don't know
This
what that
language is awesome. It is so goddamn cool. I love it. I haven't used it in a while, but like, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years ago or so, I was in New York for like several weeks and I had my laptop with me and I just downloaded processing and just spent like when I had nothing, if I had a period of a few hours, like where I just didn't have anything planned, I would just go into a coffee shop and just dick around with processing and like make stuff. And it's really cool. In just a few lines, you can get shapes up and drawing on the screen. It's basically it's used by a lot of like sort of visual artists and like installation artists to represent like crazy visual things on screen or like to show data in interesting ways or like just to have crazy abstract shapes like animating wackily. But it also accepts input, so you can make, which means you can make games with it. And it's just you can import bitmaps and stuff, but like in my opinion, the real strength of it is how easy it is to just draw shapes and lines and colors and fills on the screen. And like there's a bunch of cool like example projects you can download and tutorials you can use, and it's super. I think it's rad. I think it's like an awesome language that feels really different than most video game development environments because it was created for sort of a different purpose, and it's not just for games. It's for like all kinds of visual representation.
But it's simple and quick.
Yeah, simple and quick, but also you can do a lot with it. Like the reason I found out about it is because one of the Double Fine programmers, Patrick Hackett, is like a huge evangelist for it. Like he prototyped Double Fine game drop chord in processing and like is always talking about it, which is why I downloaded it in the first place. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And it's you will, if you are interested, you can learn about things like object-oriented programming via that. Like if you already have an understanding of that, then great, you can just jump right in. And if you don't, like it's a fairly lightweight language for learning about some of those principles. It's they just strip away the crazy shit that is sort of boilerplate from a language like C++ or something. And it's a lot more like stripped down and focused on the things that it's good at. And I think it's awesome. Processing is really cool. So if you're for someone who like is looking for a sort of cool entry point into visual stuff and like is less interested necessarily in the sort of interactive fiction side of things, I think this is a good way to go.
Cool.
I hate suggestions like that
Why?
because it makes me wish I wasn't busy.
Oh, I know, right? Isn't it the fucking worst? Because now I want to be like doing a bunch of stuff in processing, but I don't have the time right now. So
Thinking about taking a 3-month boat ride somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Cool. Good reader mail.
I know, yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah.
Oh, if you have a question for us.
Where would I send that if I had... Because Chris wrote one in, which I thought was...
I was going to say something very important, but I won't.
Good.
Ever? Like, did you just cancel your important thing? Like, you're not going to say it later?
Okay, I was going to say what you should probably do is go to hover.com, register the domain name of your choice, use the promo code RODKIN, set up an email address with that domain name, and then write to us at questions@idlethumbs.net with your important question, and also just point out what domain name you got. But that's less relevant. Mostly,
Why wouldn't you have said all that stuff?
I did say it.
But why were
But you were
hesitant?
considering not to.
Why did that go into a limbo state?
I thought it was too important to share with the world. I thought I could just keep that treasure for myself.
All of our readers are just now like enlightened to the point of
Yeah. Well, now they're too powerful. Now they don't need us, right?
Yeah.
ecstasy.
Yeah.
But
So
not
this is
really.
it? We're calling it?
We've made ourselves obsolete by sharing this important knowledge.
I would love
By
if
sharing this
Idle-
self-serving,
like I hope Idle Thumbs 143 comes
pitch.
out, 0 downloads. Just everybody just says no.
Everyone's
that
just
was it.
registering, but it's okay because
good.
we made so much money from
That's
that.
not,
Hover
that's not how that works.
That's not how
right?
that works.
At all.
But yeah, questions@idlethumbs.net if you didn't know.
Yeah, and if you do happen to register something with Hover, it's
Just let us know what you got.
and we'll talk about it on the air, which is cool for you and us
And Hover.
and Hover.
Mostly you. The readers. This has been Idle
and
Thumbs
that's what
142.
matters
We're done. No?
Turd barn.
Turd burglar.
It's all you can.